Hello guys, welcome back. This is the second part of our complete Air Foundation course, and in this tutorial I'm going to show you how we can start making an augmented reality app just like the IKEA AR app. This app is basically a catalog of different kind of furniture that you can select and then place them in your home to see that if they suit to your environment. We're going to develop a similar kind of app with Unity and Air Foundation. So let's see the demo of the app and then we'll get started.
IKEA would like everyone to know about Place, our new augmented reality app. Built on Apple's new ARKit, you can easily place true-to-scale 3D models of IKEA furniture in your place. Scan, browse, select, move, and place. So that could mean less of this. And less of this. And probably more of this. We want to make it easier for people everywhere to imagine a better place. Share this place and this place. Try place in your place.
Okay, looks awesome, right? So this is going to be pretty easy actually to make, although there is a lot of like backend programming that we can do and we can make it really advanced. But we're going to start with really simple and then gradually we can add more feature into it. Okay, so without any more conversation, let's get started. First thing we need to do is like creating a new project. I am using Unity 2019.1 here. I'm going to name the app IKEA AR, and here I'm just going to select this folder and create it. So if you remember from the last tutorial, things about plane detection, and we painted our plane with different kind of tiles. If you missed those video, I really recommend you to go back and watch those video and then come back, because we'll need those knowledge. And I'm not going to talk much about the plane detection and stuff because we already talked about that. But if you still want to learn more about it, you can go back to my other 3 videos. Those are just about plane detection and how we can use that concept, just that simple concept of AR, to create a floor painting app with Air Foundation, right? Okay, so first thing first, we need some packages. So I need to first of all go to window, and then package manager. From here we need to select all package and then search AR Foundation. Got it. And then I'm going to install it. So when we install AR Foundation, there should be a few more plugins that comes up with it. For example, there is a subsystem for AR Foundation that also comes with it. Then next we need to install AR Core or ARKit based on which platform you are building on. So if you are trying to build the game or the app for Android, then we'll need the AR Core XR plugin. But if we are planning to develop this app for, say, Apple, we are going to install the ARKit. If you want to develop it for both of the platforms, you need both of the plugins. I am going to develop for Apple, so I'm going to install ARKit here. Right, so it's going to take a while. Yep, I think it's done now. If you don't know the configuration for AR, for Android AR Core, just watch my previous video again. There is in the first tutorial I talked about how we can set up a AR app for Android through Unity. All the configurations are shown there, but I'm not going to talk about any kind of Android solutions or any kind of Android setup in this tutorial. So if you want to learn about it, go to the first tutorial of this series and you'll find that answer. Okay, so let's get started. I'm going to, before moving on, I'm going to go to build settings and I'm going to change my platforms to iOS. If you are developing for Android, you need to click on Android and then switch the platform to Android. Okay, so I'm going to switch the platform to iOS here. It's going to take a while. All right, so now that we have everything set up, we're going to start adding components in our game. First thing first, we don't need the main camera, so I can delete this. And then we need an AR camera. So for creating an AR camera, we need two things. We need an AR session to start a new augmented reality session through AR Foundation. So we need to go to XR and then AR session. And then we also need a session origin. So we need to go to XR and session origin. So when we create a AR session origin that comes up with the camera, that camera is basically our AR camera, which is going to be our mobile device's camera, right? So whenever we run the project, the app will ask for camera permission and we have to accept that for the first time. Okay, so next we need to add a plane detection. Again, we talked about plane detection in our previous course. So if you in any chance don't know about it, just look into the tutorials. I'm going to do a brief introduction here, but not much. Okay, sorry. So right click, again go to XR and then create a default airplane, and this is going to be my AR plane. I'm going to create a new folder here so that I can store this as a prefab, because we are going to need this later. Now when we have a AR plane, the next thing we need is basically going through it. I'm just gonna take a brief, like talk a few things about this. You see there is a few script automatically added in here. So the important thing that to notice here is that if you want to change the texture of this plane, you basically need to change this material. So this material, right? So you need to change this material with a with the one that you want to add. So I am going to work with the default one, so I am not using any kind of like user defined texture. Okay, next thing we need to do to show the air is that go to the session origin and we are going to add a plane manager. So I'm just gonna look for the plane manager, and Unity already comes up with a plane manager that handles all the plane detection algorithms for us, so we don't need to do anything about that. For the detection mode, we are going to use the horizontal mode because this is a plane, right? So by default you'll see it looks something like this, everything. So you need to select nothing first and then hit back the horizontal detection mode one more time, right? So the next thing we need is to add a plane prefab. We already created the plane prefab. This is the plane prefab, the airplane. So now everything is set up. We have a plane manager that is going to track our floors, and it will also give us some visualizer through this airplane object, right? So we are all set up to add actual game objects, which is basically the furnitures, into our game, right? So we don't need the plane now because we already have a prefab, so I'm going to delete that. The next thing we need is basically work with the 3D objects. So to do that, we'll need a script. So this is how it's going to work. We are going to throw a ray from our camera to the forward direction, which is basically the virtual surface or virtual plane that we generate. And if that ray hit the plane that we generated, we are going to spawn an object into that point. Okay, so just like that. It's really simple. So let's see, what should we do now? We should first of all, we need a raycast handler to handle the ray that we are going to throw to the plane, right? So we are going to add a AR raycast, yeah, AR raycast manager. So we are going to use this manager. This also comes with Unity's AR Foundation package, so we don't have to do anything about it yet. All we need to do is to write our code logic that is going to spawn different kind of objects, right? For us, the different kind of objects is basically, obviously, the furnitures, right? Okay, just give me 1 second. I am going to go to Google Chrome, and then I'm going to search for Sketchfab, and in here I'm just going to look for a furniture. So if you don't know about Sketchfab, this is a really awesome website. It also has a Unity plugin. If you want to directly add asset from Sketchfab to Unity, you can also do that. But this website has a bunch of free asset that you can use, obviously with some attribution, right? And there is paid assets as well, but there is a lot of free assets that you can try. Okay, so furniture, I'm just gonna look into furnitures, and I'm going to pick a free furniture for my project. Okay, so when you see this little icon here, that means that thing is downloadable. So we are looking for anything that is downloadable, right? I don't know, we just hit on downloadable, see what I like. Okay, maybe this one. So I'm going to download this asset. Well, I don't like it. Let's try something else. You know what, I don't want to waste much time. I'm going to pick something real quick now. Probably this one. Okay, full and final. I'm going to download this one. Download the FBX, save it to somewhere you can find it quickly, expand it, and then you'll find that prefab, that model. So I'm going to drag and drop that to Unity to import it to my game. Then I'm going to call this models, right? So in here we have a sofa that you can use. I'm going to create a prefab out of it. So also when you are using these models in your Unity project, to get the actual size or the orientation of the model in respect to the real environment, you should make sure of this scale. So if you click on the model, and then you can find a tab called model, and you can see the scale factor is 1, and it's saying that 1 centimeter to 0.01 meter in unity, right? So that means in actual world, like in 1 unit in unity, right? 1 unit in unity means 1 meter in real world. Okay, so keep that in mind when you're selecting a model that you are going to use for, real life applications. That is going to be really helpful to get the actual size of your game object. Okay, so I'm going to drag and drop this model to my original prefab. This is going to be the first object we're going to play with, and now we are all set up. We can now start writing some script, and then we can build our game and see if it's working. I am going to name this script as input manager. Right, so what we need is, first of all, the reference to our object that we are going to create, right? So I'm just going to create public game object, AR object maybe, and then we also need the reference to the camera because we're going to throw a ray from the camera. So I'm just going to create a public public camera AR cam, right? So it's a good practice to not making stuff public. So actually we can use private, but we also need to assign some value to this object. So to do that, we can add a serialized field in front of that variable name, right? So when you put a serialized field on the in front of an variable, then you can add that object from the Unity inspector. Okay. Right, so now next we can first of all check that if there has been any kind of input from the user. So I'm going to check if input dot get mouse button down 0, which is basically a touch in mobile. The same. I'm just gonna throw array equal AR cam dot screen point to ray. So what we're going to do is, like, when the user is tapping anywhere in the screen, right, we are going to throw a ray from that point to the AR scene, right? So we need the camera to read the location of the mouse. That means input dot mouse position, right? So this camera will read that mouse position and convert that screen point to a ray, right? So now we have a ray that we can use to calculate different kind of heat informations, right? Okay, that's good. Now we need a Recast manager, because that is how we are going to throw a ray, right? So we are going to create a AR ray, AR, right? So I don't have that access because I haven't declared the XR thing yet. xr dot AR foundation. Awesome. Now we can use the AR Recast manager. Recast manager, right? And again, we are going to make it a serialized field because we are going to apply that Recast manager to this variable. Okay, sounds good. Next, what we're going to do, we're going to use that Recast manager to throw a ray. It's going to cast a ray which is going to be applied here. So we're going to take that ray that we calculated from the input position, and we're going to cast that ray to the Recast, and we need the heat information, right? So this is where the heat information will go. So if you just hover over the Recast, or maybe, yeah, you can see the functions definitions, right? So it has different kind of definitions, but the one that we are interested about is the ray and the corresponding heat information of that ray. So to store the heat information, we need a Recast Heat object. So I'm going to create a list of Recast Heat. Remember, there is a Recast Heat in Unity. We don't need that because that doesn't work well with AR. So AR Foundation has came up with this Recast that is dedicatedly work with AR, right? So make sure you use the AR Recast Heat, not the Recast Heat that comes with Unity by default, right? So I'm just going to do hits equal new Recast Heat, right? That's it. So now this condition will return true if we have hit anything. If we have hit anything, the next thing we need is to get the position and rotation of that heat, right? So that is calculated by something called pose. So pose is going to give you the position and rotation of that particular heat. Okay, so I'm going to do pose equal hits 0 dot pose. Okay, that's good. And finally, we're going to instantiate the object, which is the AR object that we're going to pass, and then we need the position where to locate. So we get that from the pose, right? Remember, and also we need a rotation that also comes with the pose. That's it. So yeah, so if we now go back to Unity, it's going to save the script. My computer is a little bit slow. Right, so we got everything correct. Now we need to create a empty game object. I'm going to call it input manager, and simply drag and drop the input manager here. Okay, we need an AR object which is going to be the object that I downloaded, the prefab of that object, and then we need an AR camera, which is basically this camera. We need a AR Recast manager. Remember that we added that inside our session origin, so drag and drop that here, and that's it. So now if we run our project, we'll see that we can track the environment, and then if we tap anywhere in the environment, we can just spawn a new copy of this AR object, right? So next I'm just going to show you a demo, and that's all for today. In the next class, we are going to take this lesson furthermore, where we'll add multiple objects, and we're going to find a way to select one of the objects from many of them, and that particular object will get spawned in the environment. Okay guys, I'll see you in the next class. Till then, goodbye.